The rain-slicked streets of New York City gleamed under the neon glow of upscale restaurants as Alexander Voss stepped out of his sleek black limousine, his tailored suit cutting a sharp silhouette against the stormy night. At 42, he was the epitome of success, a tech billionaire whose empire spanned continents, built on ruthless ambition and unyielding control. But tonight, like so many others, his heart was a fortress of ice, hardened by years of betrayal and loss. He entered La Belle Époque, the city's most exclusive French bistro, where the air was thick with the aroma of truffle-infused sauces and aged Bordeaux. The crystal chandeliers cast a warm, golden light over linen-draped tables, where the elite whispered deals that could topple economies. Alexander was seated at his usual corner booth, a vantage point from which he could observe and judge the world. His phone buzzed incessantly with notifications from his latest acquisition, but he ignored them, signaling for service with an impatient flick of his wrist. Elena Ramirez, a 35-year-old waitress with weary eyes and a gentle smile that masked her exhaustion, approached his table. Her uniform was crisp but threadbare at the edges, a testament to long hours on her feet. She carried a tray laden with appetizers, her hands steady despite the ache in her back from a double shift. "Good evening, sir," she said softly, her voice laced with a faint Hispanic accent that spoke of roots far from this glittering world. "May I take your order?" Alexander glanced up, his steel-gray eyes narrowing as he assessed her. She was pretty in an unassuming way, dark hair tied back in a ponytail, olive skin glowing under the soft lighting. But to him, she was just another cog in the machine of mediocrity. "Finally," he snapped, his tone dripping with disdain. "I've been waiting for ages. Do you even know how to do your job? Or are you too busy daydreaming about a better life?" The words cut through the ambient chatter like a knife, drawing subtle glances from nearby patrons. Elena's cheeks flushed, but she held her composure, murmuring an apology as she set down his water glass. In her haste to retreat, her tray tilted slightly, and a few drops of water splashed onto the edge of his sleeve. Alexander's face contorted in fury. "You incompetent fool!" he bellowed, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Look what you've done. People like you shouldn't be allowed in places like this. You're nothing but a pathetic waitress, scraping by on tips from people who actually matter." The restaurant fell into a hushed silence, the clink of silverware pausing as eyes turned toward the scene. Elena stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest like a trapped bird, the sting of humiliation burning hotter than any physical wound. She wanted to retort, to defend her dignity, but the fear of losing her job, the only thing keeping a roof over her and her children's heads, kept her silent. Little did Alexander know, as he continued his tirade, mocking her with cruel laughter that echoed off the ornate walls, that this woman he deemed worthless held a secret that would shatter his world, a secret buried in the past, tied to a night of passion and abandonment, one that would leave him speechless and force him to confront the emptiness of his gilded cage. As the manager rushed over to defuse the situation, apologizing profusely to Alexander while shooting Elena a warning glare, the billionaire leaned back in his seat, a smug satisfaction settling over him. He had no idea that the waitress he had just humiliated was the mother of his twin children, conceived during a fleeting encounter 5 years ago when he was drowning his sorrows in a dive bar after a brutal divorce. Elena had never sought him out, raising their son and daughter alone in a cramped apartment, sacrificing everything for their sake. But tonight, fate had orchestrated this cruel reunion, setting the stage for revelations that would upend everything. The storm outside intensified, thunder rumbling like a distant warning. As Elena slipped into the kitchen, tears blurring her vision, she wiped them away with the back of her hand, the scent of garlic and herbs overwhelming her senses. "Pull yourself together," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. Back at the table, Alexander ordered his meal with curt precision. Oblivious to the chain of events he had unwittingly ignited, the night air carried a chill that seeped through the windows, mirroring the coldness in his soul. While Elena's warmth persisted, a flickering flame in the face of adversity, hours ticked by in the bustling restaurant, the hum of conversations resuming as if nothing had happened. Elena served other tables with her usual grace, her smile returning for the sake of tips that would buy formula and diapers. But inside, a storm brewed memories of that one night with Alexander flooding back. He had been charming then, vulnerable even, sharing stories of his lonely rise to power. She had fallen for his facade, only to wake up alone the next morning with a note and a wad of cash, as if she were a transaction to be forgotten. Alexander, meanwhile, dined alone, the flavors of his foie gras tasting ashen on his tongue. His life was a series of conquests, boardrooms dominated, rivals crushed, but personal connections eluded him. His ex-wife had taken everything emotional from him, leaving him with a mansion that echoed with silence. As he paid the bill, leaving no tip for Elena, he stepped back into the rain, his driver waiting curbside. Little did he know that across the street, in a modest daycare, his 4-year-old twins, Mia and Matteo, waited for their mother to pick them up after her shift. The narrative unfolded like a slow-burning film, the camera panning from the opulent interior to the gritty streets outside. Elena clocked out at midnight, her feet throbbing as she bundled up against the downpour. She hurried to the daycare, her mind replaying the mockery. Why him? Of all people, she muttered, the wind whipping her words away. Arriving. She scooped up her sleeping children, their tiny faces peaceful in slumber. Mia's dark curls mirrored Alexander's, while Matteo's eyes, when open, held the same piercing gray. Back in his penthouse, Alexander poured himself a scotch, the amber liquid swirling in the glass under the dim lights of his study. The city skyline stretched before him, a testament to his power. Yet loneliness gnawed at him. He scrolled through news articles, praising his latest deal, but the victory felt hollow. Sleep evaded him that night, haunted by a vague sense of unease from the restaurant encounter. Elena's apartment was a stark contrast, a one-bedroom in a rundown building, where the heater rattled and the walls were thin. She tucked the twins into their shared bed, kissing their foreheads. "Mama's here," she whispered, her voice a soothing melody. The room smelled of lavender from a cheap diffuser, a small luxury to mask the urban grit. As she collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion claiming her, she clutched a faded photo from that fateful night, a selfie with a smiling Alexander, now a reminder of her secret burden. The days following blurred into routine for both. Alexander jetted off to meetings in Silicon Valley, his private plane cutting through clouds, while Elena juggled shifts and motherhood, but threads of destiny began to weave tighter. One afternoon, as Alexander returned to the city, his assistant handed him a file on a potential investment in a chain of diners. Flipping through, a photo caught his eye, a staff picture from a local spot. There she was, the waitress, smiling brightly. Something stirred in him, a flicker of recognition he couldn't place. Elena, unaware, faced her own trials. Matteo had developed a persistent cough, the doctor's visit looming like a financial specter. She worked extra hours, her kindness shining through interactions with customers who left generous tips, contrasting Alexander's cruelty. In quiet moments, she pondered revealing the truth, but dismissed it. What good would it do to disrupt his life or risk her children's stability? The opening act of this drama set the tone for heartache and redemption, the sensory details painting a vivid picture, the sizzle of steaks in the kitchen, the patter of rain on windows, the warmth of a child's hug against the cold bite of reality. Dialogue punctuated the tension, like when Elena later confided in a coworker, "He thinks he's better than us, but money can't buy a soul." The billionaire's mockery lingered like a shadow, but her secret simmered beneath, ready to erupt. Alexander Voss's world was one of polished marble and soaring glass towers, where every surface reflected his unassailable success. His penthouse atop Voss Tower overlooked Central Park, a sprawling expanse of luxury with minimalist decor, white leather sofas, abstract art worth millions, and a home gym equipped with the latest tech. The air was always crisp, scented with the faint ozone from air purifiers, drowning out the chaos of the city below. But despite the opulence, it felt sterile, empty. Alexander woke each morning to the beep of his smart alarm, his routine a regimented march black coffee from a machine that cost more than most cars, a workout overlooking the dawn, and then into his office, where walls of screens displayed stock tickers and global news. He was a man forged in fire, orphaned young. He clawed his way from foster homes to Harvard on scholarships, building Voss Tech into a behemoth that revolutionized AI. But success came at a cost. His marriage crumbled under his workaholic ways, his ex-wife citing emotional neglect in a messy divorce that left him bitter. Now he was cold, his interactions clipped and commanding. "Efficiency is everything," he'd bark at employees, his voice a low rumble that brooked no argument. Power suited him like his custom Armani, but misery lurked beneath, a void no acquisition could fill. He mocked weakness because it reminded him of his past vulnerabilities. And that night at La Belle Époque, Elena had become the unwitting target. Elena Ramirez's life was a far cry from Alexander's ivory tower. She lived in a cramped walk-up in Queens, where the subway rattled the windows and the smell of street food vendors wafted up from below. Her apartment was a cozy haven amidst the struggle walls adorned with children's drawings, a kitchen table cluttered with bills, and a living room that doubled as a play area. The lighting was warm from thrift store lamps, casting soft shadows that hid the peeling paint. Sounds of neighbors' arguments and laughter seeped through thin walls, a constant reminder of community and poverty. Elena was kindness personified, her heart a wellspring of empathy despite the hardships. Born in Mexico and immigrating as a teen, she dreamed of nursing school, but life derailed her. A single mother at 31 after that one night with Alexander, she raised Maya and Mateo with fierce determination. The twins were her light 4-year-olds with boundless energy. Mia, the bold one, had Alexander's sharp features and a laugh that filled the room like sunshine. Mateo was quieter, his gray eyes thoughtful, often clinging to Elena's leg with a toy truck in hand. They were newborns when she first held them, tiny bundles in a hospital room paid for by odd jobs. Their cries a symphony that drowned out her fears. Contrast defined their worlds. While Alexander dined on caviar, Elena stretched canned soup for meals, the sizzle of onions in a pan her daily ritual. He traveled by private jet, she by crowded bus, the jolt of potholes jarring her bones. Yet her poverty bred resilience. "We have each other, mis amores," she'd say to the twins, her voice melodic as she read bedtime stories under a blanket fort. The children adored her, their small hands in hers, a anchor against the tide. In the days after the restaurant incident, Alexander's misery deepened. A board meeting went south, a rival poaching talent, leaving him pacing his office with the city lights twinkling mockingly. He snapped at his assistant, "Get me the file on that diner chain again." Flipping through, Elena's photo nagged at him a familiarity he dismissed as fatigue. Elena, meanwhile, navigated her struggles with grace. Mornings began with the twins' giggles, the scent of oatmeal warming the air. "Mama, can we have pancakes?" Mia would ask, her eyes sparkling. "Soon, baby," Elena replied, hugging them tight, dropping them at daycare, a subsidized spot smelling of crayons and juice. She rushed to her shift at a local diner. Then evenings at La Belle Époque for better pay. Her kindness shone, helping an elderly customer with their order, her smile genuine despite the ache in her feet. The setting expanded to include side characters that highlighted the divide. Alexander's circle included sycophants like his VP, Marcus, who echoed his cynicism. "You showed that waitress her place, Voss." Elena's world had friends like Rosa, her co-worker, who offered hugs and advice. "Don't let that rich jerk get to you, chica." As weeks passed, the contrast built tension. Alexander attended galas. The flash of cameras and clink of champagne glasses, a hollow symphony. Elena celebrated the twins' birthday in the park, balloons bobbing in the breeze, their laughter pure joy amid financial strain. Mateo's cough worsened, the doctor's office a sterile contrast with fluorescent lights and beeping machines. "It's asthma," the doctor said, prescribing inhalers Elena could barely afford. Alexander's power masked his isolation. Late nights, he'd stare at old photos his parents, lost in a car crash, whiskey burning his throat. "Why does nothing feel right?" he'd mutter. Elena's empathy extended even to memories of him. "He wasn't always cold," she'd think, recalling their night together. The vulnerability in his eyes as they danced to salsa music in that bar. The narrative, immersed in details, the velvet texture of Alexander's tie, the sticky feel of syrup on the twins' fingers, the echo of high heels on marble versus sneakers on cracked sidewalks. Dialogue added authenticity. Mia asking, "Why do you work so much?" "Mama," Elena replying, "To give you the stars, mi vida." This foundation set the stage for conflict. The billionaire's cold exterior clashing with the waitress's warm struggle, their paths destined to intersect again in ways neither could foresee. The tension simmered like a pot on the verge of boiling over, as Alexander's and Elena's worlds began to brush against each other in unexpected ways. Weeks after the mocking incident, Alexander found himself back at La Belle Époque for a business dinner, his mind preoccupied with a faltering merger. The restaurant's ambiance was the same soft jazz playing through hidden speakers, the aroma of fresh-baked bread wafting from the kitchen, but his mood was fouler, exacerbated by a recent betrayal from a trusted partner who had leaked company secrets. Elena was on shift again, her heart sinking when she saw him enter. She avoided his table at first, but the manager assigned her, whispering, "Keep it professional, or you're out." Approaching with a forced smile, she said, "Welcome back, sir. What can I start you with?" Alexander looked up, recognition flashing in his eyes. "You again. Haven't they fired you yet?" he sneered, his voice laced with sarcasm. His dinner guest, a potential investor, chuckled uncomfortably, But Alexander pressed on. Make sure you don't spill anything this time. Some people aren't cut out for this. The words hit Elena like a slap, but she nodded, retreating to the kitchen where tears threatened. Why does he hate me so much? She confided to Rosa, the clatter of dishes masking her whisper. Rosa hugged her. He's miserable. That's why. Don't let it break you. But the hardships piled on. That night, as she served his table, Alexander complained about the food's temperature, demanding a redo and docking her tip mentally. Misunderstandings escalated when he overheard her on a phone call during break, pleading with the daycare about late pickup. Single mom problems, he muttered to his guest. Always an excuse for poor service. Elena's struggles intensified at home. Mateo's asthma attacks grew frequent, the wheeze of his breathing a constant worry in the quiet nights. The inhaler costs ate into her savings, forcing her to skip meals. Mama, Mateo can't breathe good, Mia said one evening, her small voice trembling as thunder rumbled outside. Elena held him, the humidifier humming softly, its steam mingling with the scent of menthol rub. Bills stacked up like accusations on the table, the red past due stamps glaring under the lamplight. Injustices compounded when Alexander's company announced layoffs in a subsidiary, affecting Elena's brother, who lost his job, though indirect. It felt personal, fueling her resentment. Rich men like him step on us without a thought, she told Rosa, the bitterness unusual for her kind nature. Suspense built as Elena debated confronting him, her hands shaking as she polished silverware. Alexander's own hardships were internal, a gnawing emptiness. His ex-wife called, demanding more alimony, her voice shrill over the phone. You were never there. Alex, money can't fix that. He slammed the receiver, the echo resounding in his empty penthouse. Nightmares plagued him, flashbacks to his orphaned childhood, fostering a cycle of pushing people away. At work, misunderstandings arose. Employees feared his temper, leading to a key engineer quitting. You're impossible to work for, the note read, heightening his isolation. Their paths crossed again at a charity event Alexander hosted. Irony thick as he donated to poverty relief while mocking those like Elena. She volunteered there through her diner, serving hors d'oeuvres. Spotting her, he quipped to a colleague, even here must be desperate. Elena overheard, the sting fresh, but she bit back. Some of us give from the heart, not for tax breaks. The retort hung in the air, suspenseful as eyes turned, but Alexander laughed it off, masking his intrigue. Hardships peaked for Elena when Mateo's attack required an ER visit. The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, machines beeping as doctors stabilized him. We need insurance for better care, the nurse said gently. Elena nodded, tears falling onto the linoleum floor. The antiseptic smell overwhelming. She worked triple shifts, her body aching, feet blistered from nonstop movement. Alexander faced his own injustice, a lawsuit from a former employee claiming harassment, fabricated but damaging his reputation. Media hounded him, flashes popping outside his tower, the roar of reporters a cacophony. This is what happens when you trust the wrong people, he growled to Marcus, pacing with the city lights blurring through rain-streaked windows. Brief suspense wove through as Elena discovered an old business card from Alexander in her drawer, contemplating contact for help with medical bills. No, he doesn't deserve to know, she decided, crumpling it. Meanwhile, Alexander received an anonymous tip about a past connection in his email, a vague message that piqued curiosity, but he dismissed. The conflict heightened empathy. The billionaire's coldness, a shield against pain. The waitress's kindness, a armor for survival. Dialogue sharpened the edges. Alexander barking orders. Elena's soft reassurances to her children. Pacing built drama, sensory details immersing the chill of hospital air, the warmth of a billionaire's scotch, the tension palpable like static before a storm. As misunderstandings festered, Alexander assuming Elena's laziness, she viewing him as heartless, the stage set for twists. The continuous thread pulling tighter, the revelations began to unravel like threads from a frayed tapestry. Each twist pulling Alexander and Elena deeper into a web of secrets and surprises. It started innocently enough. Alexander, still haunted by that anonymous email, hired a private investigator to dig into his past flings, paranoid about potential scandals amid the lawsuit. "Find anything that could bite me," he instructed, his voice terse over the phone, the hum of his office AC underscoring the command. Meanwhile, Elena's world tilted when a routine blood test for Matteo's asthma revealed something unexpected. The doctor, a kind woman with glasses perched on her nose, sat her down in the sterile exam room, the scent of alcohol wipes lingering. "Ms. Ramirez, the tests show Matteo has a rare genetic marker. It's linked to a condition that might require specialized treatment, and it suggests the father could be a carrier." Elena's heart raced, the beeping of a nearby monitor amplifying her shock. She had never told anyone about Alexander, but now the truth loomed larger. Twist one struck like lightning. The investigator's report landed on Alexander's desk days later. Amid stacks of merger documents, flipping through, his eyes widened at a photo of Elena from 5 years ago, taken at that dive bar. She was pregnant shortly after, the report noted, including daycare records listing twins. Alexander's scotch glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the hardwood floor with a sharp crack, the amber liquid pooling like blood. "Impossible," he whispered. But DNA probabilities stared back high match based on public records and timelines. He was the father, the man who mocked her, unknowingly deriding the mother of his children. Speechless, he stared out at the skyline, thunder rumbling as if echoing his turmoil, but the twists didn't stop. Elena, desperate for funds, applied for a medical grant from a foundation ironically funded by Voss Tech. Reviewing applications in a rare hands-on moment, Alexander spotted her name, cross-referencing with the report. Confirmation hit the twins were his. Rushing to her apartment building under cover of night, rain pelting his coat, he confronted her at the door. "Is it true?" he demanded, his voice breaking for the first time. Elena, holding Mia, who peeked curiously, slammed the door initially, but reopened it, tears streaming. "You left me with nothing but cash and a note. Yes, they're yours, but you don't get to waltz in now." The second twist deepened the betrayal. As they argued in her modest living room, the twins asleep in the next room, the soft glow of a nightlight filtering through Elena revealed more. "I tried to find you once, after the pregnancy test, but your security turned me away. Said I was a gold digger." Alexander recoiled, the scent of her simple dinner lingering in the air. He had no memory. But digging deeper, he discovered his ex-wife had intercepted the message, paying off staff to keep it quiet out of spite during their divorce. "She betrayed me. And you," he muttered. The realization a gut punch, his powerful frame slumping on the worn couch. Suspense built as the third twist emerged during their heated exchange. Matteo woke with an asthma attack. Wheezing desperately, Elena rushed to him. administering the inhaler with practiced calm. The room filled with his labored breaths. Alexander, frozen at first, sprang into action, calling his private doctor. At the hospital, tests confirmed the genetic link, but also uncovered that Mia shared it mildly and that Elena had donated a kidney anonymously years ago to save a stranger, weakening her own health for the twins' sake. "You sacrificed everything," Alexander said, awe replacing anger. The beeps of machines, a rhythmic backdrop to his epiphany. These twists maintained interest, each layering shock paternity, interception betrayal, and Elena's selfless act. Dialogue crackled with authenticity, Alexander stammering, "How could I not know?" Elena retorting, "You didn't want to." Sensory details immersed the cold rain on skin, the warmth of a child's fevered brow, the sterile hospital tang. The narrative flowed continuously, the twists bridging conflict to climax, leaving Alexander speechless, his world upended by the woman he once mocked. The emotional storm reached its zenith in the dim-lit hospital room, where the air hung heavy with the scent of antiseptic and unspoken regrets. Alexander paced the linoleum floor, his polished shoes squeaking softly, while Elena sat by Mateo's bedside, her hand gently stroking his small one as the IV dripped steadily. The twins' faces, pale under the fluorescent glow, reflected the fragility of the moment. Mia stirred in a nearby chair, her curls tousled, murmuring in sleep, "Mama." The revelations had cracked Alexander's facade, but the true turning point loomed as Mateo's condition worsened unexpectedly. Doctors rushed in, alarms blaring like sirens in the night, their voices urgent. "He's going into respiratory failure." Elena's world narrowed to her son's labored gasps, her heart shattering like glass. "No, please, not my baby," she sobbed, her voice raw with despair, tears cascading down her cheeks. Alexander, the powerful billionaire, reduced to helplessness, watched in horror. Memories flooded him, the mocking words at the restaurant now echoing as accusations in his mind. "This is my fault," he whispered, the weight of years of cold detachment crushing him in a surge of emotion. Alexander grabbed a doctor's arm. "Do whatever it takes. Money is no object fly in specialists. Use my jet." But the doctor shook his head gravely. "It's genetic. We need a compatible donor for a potential procedure if it escalates." Tests had shown Alexander was a match, but the risk to him was high, due to his own undiagnosed stress-related heart issues. The climax intensified as Elena begged him, "You don't have to. You've done nothing for us before." Her eyes, red-rimmed, pleaded yet protected. The room's hum of machines amplifying the tension. Alexander's mental breakdown unfolded dramatically. He sank to his knees beside the bed, the sterile floor cold against his palms, sobs racking his frame for the first time since childhood. "I've been a monster," he choked out, his voice breaking like waves on rock. "All my life, building walls to keep pain out, but I shut out love too. These children, my children, and you, Elena. I mocked you when you were carrying my world." The sensory overload heightened the drama, the beep of monitors quickening, the faint scent of Elena's lavender lotion mixing with hospital odors, the warmth of tears on his face. Elena, torn between resentment and compassion, placed a hand on his shoulder. "Get up, Alexander. They need us strong." But the turning point peaked when Mia woke, toddling over and hugging his leg. "Don't cry, mister," she said innocently, her tiny voice a balm. It shattered him further. evoking visions of what could have been a family, not isolation. As surgeons prepared for an emergency intervention, Elena sacrificed again, offering to donate despite her past kidney loss. "Take from me," she insisted, her voice steady amid chaos. But Alexander refused, stepping forward. "No, it's my turn to sacrifice." The procedure was risky. His heart could falter under anesthesia. In the waiting room, Elena paced, the clock ticking like a heartbeat, suspense thick as fog. Flashbacks interwove their passionate night, her lonely pregnancies, his empty successes. Hours later saw the doctor emerged, sweat on his brow. It was touch and go, but both are stable. Mr. Voss's donation saved the boy. Relief washed over Elena like a tidal wave, but Alexander awoke groggy. His first words, "Are they okay?" The emotional language painted raw vulnerability. The billionaire's breakdown, a catharsis. Elena's sacrifice, a testament to what? The climax resolved the pent-up tension, using heartfelt dialogue. "I see you now, Elena, truly," he murmured. The room's soft lighting cast shadows of hope, the family's bond forging in fire. In the aftermath of the hospital ordeal, the sun rose on a transformed world for Alexander, Elena, and the twins. Weeks of recovery followed, with Alexander insisting they move to his penthouse for better care, the vast space now filled with the patter of small feet and laughter. A stark contrast to its former silence. The air carried new scents, children's shampoo, home-cooked meals Elena prepared in the gourmet kitchen, and fresh flowers he brought daily as amends. Alexander's growth was profound. Once cold and powerful, he softened, attending therapy to unpack his past traumas. "I was miserable because I feared loss," he confessed to Elena one evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the twinkling city lights. The breeze whispered through, carrying the distant hum of traffic. "But you showed me strength in vulnerability." He quit micromanaging his empire, delegating to focus on family, even establishing a foundation for single mothers, honoring Elena's struggles. Elena, too, evolved her kindness now paired with assertiveness. She enrolled in nursing school, funded by Alexander, but on her terms. "I won't be your charity case," she told him firmly, her voice steady as they walked in Central Park, the twins chasing leaves in the crisp autumn air. The scent of earth and falling foliage grounded the moment, honored by his changes. She forgave, their dialogues building bridges. "You mocked me, but now you lift me up." The family reunited fully. Mia and Matteo thrived, their giggles echoing through the halls. "Daddy," they called Alexander, the word melting his heart each time. Playdates replaced board meetings. Bedtime stories became rituals, the warmth of their hugs erasing years of loneliness. The heartwarming conclusion peaked at a quiet ceremony where Alexander proposed, kneeling in the park under a canopy of stars. "Elena, you left me speechless with your secret, but now I want to spend life speaking our love." She accepted, tears of joy glistening. The finale radiated hope, wealth, and poverty blending into humanity. Love conquering all. Their story ended with a family portrait, the camera capturing smiles that promised forever. A vivid tale of redemption.